Okay, in this video I want to talk about the three main arguments against moral realism that have continued to emerge in different forms in our readings in this unit. And I also want to talk about some of the possible responses that realists might make to these arguments. So the first argument is this: that moral beliefs are not caused by objective moral facts. And this has come in a couple different forms. One form that we've seen this argument come in is Harman's. So here's basically what Harman says. If our moral beliefs are caused by objective moral facts, then objective moral facts would have to be physical facts. Now, why does he say that? He says that because he thinks that clearly the only kinds of things that can cause any effects in the world are physical objects. Physical facts, physical objects are the only things that have any effects. He thinks that's kind of a very naturalistic, scientific view of the world. But he says objective moral facts, if they exist, are not physical facts. You can't see them or feel them or touch them or anything like that. So therefore, our moral beliefs are not caused by objective moral facts. Now, what's the moral realist going to say here? Well, I think one possible response they might have is to say, look, if there are non-physical things, like that could be spirits like God, angels, souls, any kind of like personal spirits like that, or it could be kind of platonic forms, things that aren't necessarily personal spirits but are non-physical entities. If there are such things at all, then maybe they can cause our beliefs or even cause other physical events in the world. So maybe objective moral facts are non-physical things, and they can cause our moral beliefs. Now, I don't know that all moral realists are going to make that response, but it's one possible one that they could make. Okay, here's another version we've seen this argument come in, and that is Mackeys' argument from relativity. And here's what Mackey wants to say. People and cultures hold widely varying moral beliefs. The best explanation for these variations is that they reflect different ways of life rather than the perception of objective values. Therefore, probably our moral beliefs are caused by our ways of life, not by a perception of objective values. So they want to say, yeah, there's a lot of moral disagreement, and it's different than, say, scientific disagreement, which is based on different perspectives on the evidence or different kinds of observations that have been made. Moral disagreements aren't based on anything like that. They're just based on kind of the different culture you were raised in. Well, here's what realists might say. They might say, against premise one, that look, there's actually not that much moral disagreement, at least on general principles. Okay, cultures may disagree about all sorts of things, but they don't disagree about fundamental things like, is it okay to lie and cheat and steal and kill innocent people? Generally speaking, they agree on those. The realist might also say this: just because we do disagree about something, like the solar system, doesn't mean that no one's beliefs are based on or caused by objective facts. Maybe some of us have beliefs that are based on objective facts and some of us don't. But or some of us have beliefs that are based on a better perception of it, of the objective facts. Furthermore, Gensler and Enoch want to say, even if my moral beliefs are cultural products, that doesn't mean that those beliefs aren't objectively true. So, for example, maybe my beliefs even about the solar system are cultural products. Like, I believe that the sun's the center of the solar system because that's what they taught me in school, right? Just like my mom taught me not to steal. Well, okay, but even if that belief is caused by my culture, that doesn't mean it's not objectively true in the scientific case, and so why not also in the moral case? Now, the next major kind of argument that the anti-realist wants to make is that there is no evidence for objective moral facts. And there's three kind of core lines of thought that we've explored. First is the claim that there is no observational evidence for objective moral facts. And both Hume and Harman have said this in different ways. Hume said you can't make any moral observations at all because you just can't see wrongness. You can't feel it or taste it or anything. Harman said, well, you can make moral observations that are theory-laden, but they never support any actual moral claims, because the best explanation for why you make those observations isn't that they're true. The best explanation for why you make those observations is that you learned it from your culture or something. Now, if we can't observe moral facts, then maybe we can make an argument for them, you might think. But Hume has given us 4 arguments to show that there are no good arguments for objective moral facts. I won't review all of those here. And then finally, you might think, well, if we can't observe moral facts and we can't make arguments for them, maybe we can just know them by intuition, just gut instincts, apart from argument. But Mackey wants to say we don't have reliable intuitions about anything, including morality. Now, a lot of the debate between the realists and the anti-realists is going to be about intuition, because I think most of the realists would probably concede that there are no good non-circular arguments for objective moral facts, and there isn't kind of direct observational evidence for them. So intuition is going to be probably what they rely on. So what would people reply to this claim about intuition? Well, the realists might say, first of all, that, look, we can trust our intuitions unless and until we have some very strong reason to abandon our intuitions. In other words, they're justified unless and until they get defeated, including your moral intuitions. Another realist reply is that without intuition, we couldn't even know about numbers or mathematical facts. So you definitely don't want to throw out intuition. Otherwise, you're going to have to throw out math. Mackey has a response to this. He says we don't need intuition to know about numbers and math. We can know about those through other ways, which he doesn't describe. And then Harman wants to say, look, we don't have direct observational evidence for math, but we do have indirect observational evidence for math. Here's what he means. Scientists, when they formulate their theories about the world and on the basis of observational data, they have to use math. They have to use numbers to formulate those theories. They don't have to use moral concepts. And that gives math a kind of indirect observational evidence that morality doesn't have. The third major argument that the anti-realists say is that if objective moral facts existed, they would be super weird. And weird stuff like that probably doesn't exist. It's very unlikely. This is Mackeys' argument from queerness, the metaphysical part of it. And basically he has 2 lines of thought. The first is that we have no idea how moral properties relate to natural properties. How is the fact that me punching you in the face causes pain, how is that pain related to the wrongness of my action? Mackey says, I just have no idea how pain is supposed to be related to wrongness, what those two have to do with one another. Why is it that pain should be the cause of wrongness, or a certain pain in certain kinds of situations is a cause of moral wrongness? He said, I don't know how that works at all. The second thing is this, and this is a little bit harder to get our heads around, but he's kind of expanding on Hume's motivation argument. He says, if there were objective moral values in the world, then merely knowing them would motivate us to pursue them. But he says, no mere knowledge of anything can motivate us unless it's also accompanied with desire. And therefore, he says, there are no objective moral values. Now, he thinks that's a weird thing about objective moral facts. I leave you to consider that for yourself. So those are our 3 main arguments against moral realism. Here I think are some big remaining issues for a realist. They got to give us an account of what objective moral properties really are. What are they? What are you supposed to be talking about here? And are moral properties as weird as Mackey thinks they are? Second, can we trust our moral intuitions? And why should we? What reason do we have to trust them? And then finally, what is the causal connection between moral facts and moral beliefs? Okay, so a lot of things here to consider, and I leave you to do it for the rest of your life.